Hi, I'm Tim. Today I'm going to share a few tips on how to identify, forage and use a few wild edible plants that will be growing around your garden and neighbourhood. These plants have amazing nutritional and medicinal value. They grow without any love or attention, and they're quite often considered weeds or nuisances. So when you're foraging for weeds, there's a couple of things you should take into account. Firstly, you need to be able to correctly identify suitable edible species. So a field guide is really useful. I use the Weed Forager's Handbook. It's got photos and descriptions and is a fantastic resource, especially when you're starting off. The other thing you have to think about is where you're actually foraging. Certain areas like the sides of roads or industrial areas will have contaminated soils, so avoid these places if possible. So due to the current situation we're in, many people have become very conscious about food security. This has led many people to establish vegetable gardens, which I'm really excited about. I think it's a fantastic step in the right direction. However, we need to realise that growing all around us are edible plants. So we're getting started with probably the easiest to identify of the edible weeds, dandelion. So dandelion have a spherical seed head and a yellow flower and heavily toothed leaves that radiate out from the centre. This plant grows anywhere, from compacted soil to cracks in the pavement, and this one's growing in amongst the gravel here. The whole plant is edible, so the leaves and the flower can be eaten raw or used in your cooking, and the root can be baked and used as a coffee substitute. This is the most nutritionally dense vegetable ever tested by the United States Department of Agriculture. It's very high in calcium and iron and vitamins A, B6, C, E, K, thiamine. It's also incredibly high in antioxidants and alpha and beta carotene, which are amazing for immune support. So keep your eye out for dandelion. Let's see what else we can find. Another really common and widespread plant we've got here is plantain. Plantain is known as the mother of herbs and also white man's footsteps because it kind of followed European colonization around the world. In fact, the flower heads are used by Metamucil as a high fiber supplement. This plant is awesome. You can eat the leafy greens. I also use it if I ever get bitten by an insect or stung. So you can chew it up as a poultice, put it on the sting, and it has anti-inflammatory and analgesic properties. So the pain will subside and the swelling will go down really quick. Beautiful to eat. When you're picking the leaves, go for the new fresh leaves on the inside. So we've got another one of my favorites here, chickweed, another very widespread and common plant, especially in the cooler months. It's quite often a garden volunteer, meaning it will pop up in your veggie garden. It likes fertile, rich and moist soils. So this plant is very high in vitamins A, C, and it's also got twice the amount of iron as spinach. It's edible fresh or can be cooked in with your salads. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. You can harvest the top and it will continue to regrow. So definitely keep an eye out for chickweed. The next plant we're looking at is growing out of the crack just here. This is purslane. So it's a succulent, it has almost heart-shaped leaves and a really common garden volunteer in the warmer months. So it's high in protein and potassium and vitamins A, C and E. It also has the highest levels of omega-3 of any leafy green that's ever been tested. Very special plant. So you can eat it fresh and you can also cook it. So it's a bit tangy because it has oxalic acid in it, a bit like Warragul Greens. So if you're eating large quantities, make sure you're blanching it. So you probably know what I'm sitting in amongst. They're very common. They are nasturtium. If you've ever bitten into a nasturtium leaf or a flower, you'll know they have a very strong mustardy flavour. Love it. The mustard compounds that you taste when you bite into a nasturtium leaf or flower are what are giving this plant their medicinal properties. Everything from being antiseptic and wound healing to anti-inflammatory, they're antimicrobial. They can be used to treat fungal conditions like athlete's foot, and can even be used with other herbs such as horseradish to treat urinary tract infection. An amazingly versatile plant. They grow freely as an understory. They're also a fantastic companion plant. The strong smells that come from this plant can be used to deter pests to keep them away from your prized fruit and vegetables. So we've got another plant here. This one is a native though. This one's called Koh Molina. So it looks very similar to wandering dew, but it has skinnier leaves and it has a blue flower as opposed to a white flower. So the flowers and the leaves are edible, very high in vitamin C and grows everywhere. So another fantastic plant to keep an eye out for. So we've got another edible wild food here. This is Warragul Greens, another Australian native. So this plant has an interesting history. It was the first Australian native to be cultivated outside of Australia. James Cook took seeds back to Europe, and he also fed it to his crew because it has amazing properties, very high in antioxidants and vitamin C. Another thing this plant is high in is oxalic acid. So if you're going to be consuming large quantities, you want to make sure that you're blanching it for 10 to 15 seconds in boiling water. That will help remove those toxins and make sure it's safe to consume. So there you are. Foraging for food is a lot of fun. It's really simple. I hope I've inspired some of you to look at the plants around you in a different light. Thanks for joining me.